First it was the Cuck Shacks, then it was the Cuck Carts, and now you may ask what comes next. What could possibly be worse than your wife's boyfriend sticking you in the Cuck Shack? Or those sad, lonely Cuck Carts made for single people without any families. Introducing the Cuck Pod. Ah, yes. Because being able to own a home or even rent is just beyond the scope of any modern day millennial, zoomer, or, well, just about anyone. Hello everyone, this is Mr. Obvious, bringing you the obvious. And today on NPR, the affluent homeless, a sleeping pod, a hired desk, and a handful of clothes. Here in this article, we're going to talk about the Cuck Pod phenomena and how people are being pushed to live like slaves with almost no possessions in tiny places. Ah, the globalist dream. The dream of those rich elites in their ivory towers to treat us all like little drones, insects, who can't even own property, forever stuck in our Cuck Pods. Stephen T. Johnson rents a bed at a pod share in Hollywood, California. Oh. Well, that's a surprise. When you don't own things, you don't have to keep track of them, he says. You just show up. You poor man. Oh, well, and if that's not cuck logic, I don't know what is. Imagine being so put down by the system, so crushed by the overlords, that you actually embrace a life in servitude. So let's see what this article says. More young people are leaning into the rental or sharing economy, owning less of everything and renting and sharing a whole lot more. Housing, cars, music, workplaces. In some places, such as Los Angeles, this rental life has gone to an extreme. Stephen T. Johnson, 27, works in social media advertising and lives in Hollywood. I wonder why he can't afford anything. He spends most of his days using things he does not own. He takes a ride-sharing service to get to the gym. He does not own a car. At the gym, he rents a locker. He uses the gym's laundry service because he does not own a washing machine. Johnson doesn't even have an apartment, actually. He rents a bed in a large room with other people who rent beds for nights, weeks, or months at a time through a service called PodShare. All residents share a kitchen and bathrooms. Johnson also rents a desk at WeWork, a co-working space. And he says the only clothes he owns are two versions of the same outfit. Jesus Christ, man. Can you imagine living like this? No privacy, nothing to yourself. You don't have your own space. You literally cannot do anything. How can anyone live like this? Is this living? Is this what it means to be alive? This is the worst. This is a future they want for us, folks. Slavery. And I've been saying this for a long time. They're always, the globalists and the elites are always pushing this. The corrupt elites are always trying to get people to be more slave-like. Why do you think people are saying, we should eat bugs? Because they're high in protein, super healthy. Everyone should eat cockroaches. Yes, we should eat insects, like the plebeian slaves we are. Because the world is so at a loss for resources. The billionaire in his yacht, there's not enough room for us, the peasants. We should eat bugs while they dine on marbled steak. Delicious, juicy. And then we eat the cockroaches. Yeah. Go F yourself. I'm not eating bugs. It's the same thing in China. China is so overpopulated and the economy is such garbage and people are treated as such slaves that the Cuck Pod phenomena is a daily occurrence. And keep in mind, these Cuck Pods only have room for like one person, as you can see here. Can you imagine living like this? There's people right there, there's people there. There's people all over. There's no privacy whatsoever. Living in a small box like a slave. Because that's what this is, folks. It's modern day slavery, and it's exactly what the corrupt elites want. Johnson says he owns so little that he has even been able to get rid of his backpack. I gave that up 2 months ago, he says. He says that for him, this lifestyle isn't cumbersome or confusing. That's what's great, he says. When you don't own things, you don't have to keep track of them. You just show up. He's part of a newish group of young people. He's educated and owns his own business. He could be considered well off, but he is also, in a way, homeless by choice. The greatest thing about these hippies, these new fad of millennials who not only embrace the Cuck Pod phenomena, but live the Cuck life, a life where you own nothing, have nothing, and are nothing. Now, I'm not against people living a minimalist life. This isn't minimalism, it's communism. Let me explain. all of these services, this new age of let's share services and let's cut down the cost and, let's just live through services instead of actually owning anything is all indicative of being reliant on the system. So if society collapses, this man, he's going to have no tools, no materials, no land, no weapons, no mode of transportation, probably has no survival skills. I mean, he has nothing, right? He has that little cuck pod, that's it. When shit hits the fan, when society goes under, he's dead. And that's what it's all about, my friends. The elites want us dependent on the system. Don't make the mistake. It's not like they want us out of the system living in the wilderness. In fact, they actively fight against that. If you try to go off the grid and build your own house, build your own power system, you will be fined, attacked, and called unlawful. But oh yes, they encourage you to live a life like this guy, to live through these services, to become dependent on the system. And what happens when you're dependent on the system, folks? Well, the elites can control you and do whatever they want. Because you don't own anything, they can take everything. Understand? We're already seeing glimpses of it with social media companies censoring conservatives, right-wingers, and anyone who even slightly leans right of left. PayPal's doing it. Other services are doing it. Banks are starting to do it, denying service to people who are guilty of wrongthink. You see, the system, my friends, it's not your freedom, it's your prison. It's always been that way. People have always laughed and scoffed at the notion. They've always said, oh, you're just being edgy. Society is not that bad. We have freedom. Oh, do we now? Do we really? When they shut down your bank account, when they shut off your services, when they cut you off from the rest of the world, when they dox you, when they bury you, when they destroy your reputation, when they make it so that you could never work again. Maybe, just maybe, society is not as free as you think. There are two big reasons for this shift. The price of housing and student loan debt. Oh ho ho! The truth comes out now, doesn't it? Things have gotten so expensive thanks to boomers, thanks to corrupt politicians, thanks to globalists, and thanks to the Chinese. Housing is now unaffordable. Schools are now unaffordable. The cost of housing has gone up astronomically. The cost of going to school to get a higher education has gone up astronomically. The cost of living gone up astronomically. The cost of healthcare, guess what? It's astronomical. We're being turned into slaves. And at the same time, we're being told, we need immigration. We need a higher population because if we don't, my friends, the system will collapse. It will collapse. Yeah, and what's a higher population going to do? It's going to drive up demand, which is going to drive up prices, meaning everything is going to get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. The solution is a lower population. In fact, we should be happy if the population lowers and lowers and lowers and lowers. Because if the population lowers, the supply remains the same, but now there's more to go around, meaning prices go down. Oh, and all of a sudden, everything's affordable again. Do you see the lie of consumerism? Do you see the lies that the globalists and the corrupt elite have been feeding you your entire life? No. The country will not collapse because the population, let's say, gets cut in half. Oh, in fact, the exact opposite happens. It becomes a glorious golden age for all of the people, for the little guy, for you and me. Who does it hurt? The rich people at the tippy top. They're the ones who feel the pain because all that money they were getting from all their little slaves vanishes. And that's the truth, my friends. The truth of this world. We have been lied to. A little more than a third of millennials currently own homes, a rate lower than Generation X and baby boomers when they were the same age. So as you can see, millennials are the most screwed over generation. Zoomers, I suppose we should include. We're all screwed over. All screwed over by the people who destroyed this country, who destroyed America, who's destroying the West. Your policies, your actions, your consumerism, your blatant disregard for the future, your mindset on endless growth has led to this. Oh, and also letting the Chinese buy all the housing and buy properties and come over here and then jack up prices artificially. They did that in Australia. They bought all the houses and now Australians can't afford homes. Wow. Isn't globalism wonderful? Isn't it wonderful when foreign powers and foreign people come to your country and exploit you and take from you? Ah, yes, it's becoming clear why globalism's a bad thing now, isn't it? But is there something else going on as well? Does Johnson represent a fundamental shift in American capitalism as we know it? Yes, it represents a shift to slavery. I will not be a slave. I will die fighting before I am turned into anyone's slave. Skylar Wang, a PhD student at the University of California, Berkeley, who studies the sharing economy, says even if young people own less and are less enamored with ownership than their parents may be, they still have a lot of stuff. It's just not tangible.
Bullshit.
Honestly. How about I take the person who said this? Skylar Wang. Yes, I'm going to take... okay, let's use this example. Skylar Wang. Let's say you were stuck in a little cage. You were taken prisoner by a foreign power. Let's say that in a time of war. And you're put in a cage, and they didn't give you food, they didn't give you water, they just laughed on you, they just laughed at you, and threw stuff at you. And you cried, I'm hungry, I'm thirsty, please, give me some water. And you know what they say? You know what they would say to you? You actually have a lot of stuff. It's just not tangible. You still have your imagination. You can imagine food, and imagine water, and imagine being full. You have so much stuff. It's not tangible.
Get out of here.
Gee, I wonder. I talk to a lot of minimalists, Wang says. They're the type of people who love to couch surf. They own like 30 things, but they hoard digitally. They have tons of photographs. They have thousands and thousands of Instagram posts. Oh, God. Oh, wow. Okay, so we've reached the era where people actually think that their digital lives can somehow substitute for actually owning anything. You can be banned on Instagram. You can be banned anywhere these days. You don't own those things. And it's sad because it shouldn't be like that. You shouldn't be able to be censored just for having the wrong opinion. It's totalitarian bullcrap. But that's where we are. Instagram posts? You live such a great life because you get points on the internet? No, that's not how it works. Okay? Trust me. God, they still live in an economy of stuff. It's just a different stuff. It's experiences. Oh, I'll sell you an experience, all right. If you think you're gonna put me in one of those cuck pods, you got another thing coming, bucko. How do businesses deal with this? For starters, a lot more companies are getting into rentals. Even IKEA is starting to lease its furniture. Oh, yes. We can make more money by renting to people, by leasing to people, than by actually selling them anything. Yeah. I'm sure they're jumping on this. I'm sure. Because at the end of the day, it's all about making the rich people richer and the middle class poorer. Money for them, but no money for us. Houses for them, but no houses for us. Property for them, no property for us. Fine wine and marbled meats for them, and grasshoppers in rice for us. I see through this like a bullet through a window. Ah, boy. The outdoor chain Ray announced recently it is vastly expanding its rental program for things like camping gear. Eric Arts, acting CEO of the company, says this requires a different kind of outreach. We're selling joy, he says. We're selling inspiration when you go out on a trail or go for a bike ride. We're selling the adrenaline buzz at the end of the run, and we're just trying to enable that in any way we possibly can.
Where's my baseball bat? I gotta smash!
Juliet Skor, a sociologist at Boston College who studies the rental and sharing economies, says not everyone is in it for the same reasons. Some are doing it just for enjoyment. Some are doing it to move toward transactions that are less corporate and more personal. Less corporate and more personal. Less corporate and more personal.
Less corporate
and more personal. Wow. I didn't know that buying services owned by corporations was less corporate. That makes a lot of sense. I get it now. Others are willing to spend more for convenience, but a lot rent and share because they're broke and need to save money. Bing, 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 bing. Bing, bing, bing. There we go, folks. The cold hard truth. We're broke. We need to save money. None of us can afford shit anymore. Everything's too expensive. The population is too high. They keep bringing in immigrants, and people keep coming to this country illegally.
Thanos did nothing wrong.
I think it's a mistake to characterize them with one kind of economic orientation or orientation to money, Skor says. That makes it really hard to predict whether renting and sharing is our long-term future or just a fad, even for Johnson, who is totally plugged into a rental life. It's not something you can do forever, because you do need to have a place that you can genuinely point to and say, this is my home, he says. Yeah. No shit. And thank God this has no comment section, because I was about to pop a blood vessel. Honestly, at least this article says one true thing. You need a place to call your own, but that's merely the obvious. Well, that's all for now, folks. What do you think about this cuckpot phenomena? How can we combat it? How can we stop it? First it was the shacks, then it was the carts, but now it's our very lives that are at stake. Be sure to let me know what you think. If you like the content that I make, consider joining me on Patreon, Subscribestar, or donating via PayPal. This has been Mr. Obvious. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you all next time.